everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Leader Class Astrotrain from Transformers Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy. I believe this is the last Siege figure that I have yet to review. After this, Siege should pretty much be done and we just await Earthrise. Some people have actually already found Earthrise Micromasters, which I don't think they're supposed to be out until March, so who knows, maybe on a fluke I'll find something early. I'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, we've got Astrotrain to take a look at here. First thing I will say is right off the bat, like a third of the box is empty. Like this is all just like maybe there's a gun or something down here, but this is a new thing that Hasbro's doing where they give us Voyager class figures, give them like a backpack or a trailer or some armor or something, and call them a Leader class figure. Like at least with Magnus, I understood because that's how the original toy was. And it made more sense. Like that's the essence of Magnus. But like Shockwave and this guy are definitely smaller figures that are just passed off as Leader class, and I'm not sure I like it. That doesn't mean that I think Astrotrain is going to be a bad figure. Far from it. I'm just saying I don't like this trend, Hasbro, and I'm watching you. Not that you care at all, but I'm watching you. Really cool artwork here on the side. I like that a lot. On this side, we have that same kind of mural that we have all the time on the side of the Siege box. I like it, though. I think it's kind of neat. This is the arc blasting off, and then I've seen the picture for Earthrise, and it's like, you know, the arc falling to Earth. So because he is Astrotrain, he has both a shuttle and a train mode, and then he has this, like, little trailer, which I think it's supposed to be like the coal car on a locomotive. But they're also using it as like a landing pad or like a liftoff pad or a launch pad or something for the shuttle mode. So we'll see how that works. But otherwise, pretty typical Siege packaging. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get Astrotrain out of here, and we'll take a closer look. So here's Astrotrain out of the packaging, and right off the bat, I think the figure looks fantastic. I think he's definitely one of the most cartoon-accurate looks at Astrotrain that we've gotten so far. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about the original Classics Astrotrain, which was a deluxe, and he kind of turned into like a bullet train, which I like Astrotrain to transform more into like a locomotive train. And then we had the bullet train Headmaster version in Titan's Return, which that one didn't hold together very well. And both of those were also in like the original toy color schemes. And I don't know, I prefer the darker gray for Astrotrain. I think he works better in the cartoon accurate color scheme, so I'm really happy with this guy, at least aesthetically so far. I think he looks really good. Head sculpt is pretty cool. The eyes are a little sunken back, so it's a little hard to see, but they are painted a nice red. It's got a little bit of yellow here on the top, deep purple, nice silver paint on the face, so really good head sculpt there. I like that a lot. We'll do articulation real quick. Head's on a ball joint, can move side to side, a little bit up and down. Shoulders spin around, out to the side, biceps swivel. He's got a double jointed elbow for the transformation. Nothing in the wrist. It folds in as part of the transformation, so it can't spin around at all. He does have a waist swivel. Typical hip, you can move up the little flap so you can kick all the way to the front, to the side. Can't really go that far back, but he's got a thigh swivel. 90 degrees in the knee, and then he's got the ankle tilt that Siege is pretty much known for. So he's good. I really like his amount of articulation. I think it totally works. And as you can see over here, he's got quite the artillery going on. He's got two of these, which look very similar. I think the barrel of the gun on these is kind of goofy, in my opinion. But he's got one of these, and you can see how like one's meant to be the right and one's meant to be the left. He's got this massive, giant barreled cannon. He's got this one, which I think I like this one the best. This is my personal favorite. Looks kind of cool. And then he's got this kind of like missile pod. Now you can combine all these weapons together. You can take this one, and this pegs in underneath here. Then this pegs into the back. And then these peg in on the sides. Like I showed off earlier, they do have alternating pegs so that you can put one on each side here. So he can give him this massive gun if you prefer. And that just pegs in. All the pegs are the same, so he just holds a massive gun. He actually holds it pretty well considering how heavy it is. So that's a pretty good job there. Otherwise, if you wanted to, you know, peg these in all over the place, you certainly can. He's got several peg holes. And again, this works with any Battle Masters, Micromasters. They're all the same size pegs. So you could give him this gun. You could peg this over here on the side. He's got a peg on the shoulder. Stuff like that. You know, you got the... I think he's got one here on the forearm. So you could put the missile pod here if you like. I mean, whatever you want. It's completely your imagination. Now, he does have this little coal car, which they have you do like a variety of random things with, but it can kind of become quote-unquote armor for him. Basically what it is you open this up, and it's just kind of a box, but these actually slide off like this, and then this spins around, I believe, and then folds down into the body. This closes back up, and then they want you to take this and just plug it onto his back. Okay. And then these pieces that you took off become shoes. So you just peg these on to the bottom of the feet. And that's really it. That's his whole armor. Now, in my opinion, it doesn't really get him anything. I mean, he's got a bunch of weight on his back that doesn't do anything. And they give you the shoes just to give him better heels because now he's totally back heavy. And then they're like, now you can just plug the weapons in everywhere. I'm like, well, I could have plugged the weapons in everywhere without the goofy armor. So if you're looking for somewhere to store it in robot mode, like, okay, I guess you can do that. But to me, that doesn't really add any play value to me, in my opinion. Just because, man, it's hard to unplug from here. Come on, man. Come on, there we go. I don't know. To me, it's like we threw this quote-unquote armor in to bump him up to a leader class figure. But in reality, it's superfluous and unnecessary. So, I mean, I'm not saying I hate the car in total. It has some interesting things you can do with it, which we'll take a look at later on. And then these plastic pieces just slide back into these spots here. And you kind of have to push it in pretty well to get it to go. As armor, I just think this doesn't work. I just think it's dumb. I don't see the point in having him like, the shoes are okay, but just having a giant open box on his back, I don't see what that helps him. But like what you can do, which I actually think is kind of cool, you can open this up and you can store all the weapons inside. So you can take this, plug that in there. These side guns get pegged in here and here. And then these get pegged in here and here. And then you just close this all back up. I guess you have to close this part first. And there you go. Now you have weapon storage in this cool little box. So I appreciate that. I like the fact that you can store all the weapons. It keeps them someplace nice and contained. You won't lose them. Should be pretty easily stored. Now, if you wanted to, like, take this, I guess actually if you took the shoes off, you could still technically spin this around and then peg this back together and have the shoes. So I guess it could be just a way for him to keep his arsenal on his back so he could get to it quickly. I guess that's okay as far as the armor goes, but I don't know. Like I said, I just don't think the armor is that impressive. What am I doing? Why won't this close back up? There we go. So yeah, I think it's neat that it can store all the weapons. So I just put the whole coal car. Man, whole coal car. Try to say that 5 times fast. Anyway, we're putting this off to the side. We don't need it right now. We're going to go ahead and get into the shuttle transformation. So you're going to start with putting the arms straight out. Then you're going to rotate them 180 degrees at the bicep. You're going to fold in the fists, and then you're going to bend this down, and you'll see that there's a tab right there. Should probably get a little closer. Tab right there, which is going to tab in here. So you're going to close that up and tab that in. And now I'm too zoomed in. But there you go. So you'll see the two arms are like that. Then you're going to unpeg these panels and rotate this up. And they will just kind of hang out there above the head. Next, you're going to come to the side, and there's these tiny little tabs right here. You're going to flip that up on both sides. This whole section will flip around, cover the head. Let me zoom back out. Then you'll see there's a little fin here. This is going to come up. This is going to pop down here. And then you're going to kind of open up the hands just a smidge. You see that there's a tiny ridge there on the bottom right where my fingernail is. And that's going to fit in between the two hands. And then while you're holding that together, you're going to bring up this entire back section. And then you're going to lift up this. And this is going to come up and peg into the back there. And that's going to keep the hands together with the fin in between. You also want to make sure that there are these tiny tabs on the bottom of the purple parts that you need to make sure fit into the backpack so that it comes all the way up and sits flush. And then you'll see how it'll kind of connect, like see how this is like this, and that'll kind of come up and form flush with this piece like that. So there's pretty much the whole back of the space shuttle mode. These pieces here are going to fold up and pop into place just like that. You're going to come here to the ankles, and you can see inside here that there is a place where they peg in. It's a little difficult to see. I'm just going to go ahead and remove it so you can see. See this little circle tab right there? That was pegged in right there. So you just want to kind of pull that away so that you can pull this down, and then you're going to flip it all the way around, and it's going to peg in right there. You're going to do the same thing with the other one. Peg that in. I'm going to zoom out. Next, this whole section will pop away like this, and now you can see that the front of the shuttle is exposed. So you'll pop this out, these will peg together, and then this will kind of come around. You want to make sure everything's straight. And you'll see it'll peg in back here, just like that. And that is pretty much the shuttle mode. So I actually like the space shuttle mode quite a bit. I wish it didn't have all this like siege weathering, because this was his shins in robot mode, so that looks a little weird on top of the shuttle. But otherwise I like the color scheme. I like the cockpit of the shuttle up here. I feel like this is very indicative of the original G1 toy and very screen accurate to the cartoon, which is really fun. I like the little pop of yellow and red down here. Otherwise it looks pretty good. It's got plenty of places to attach weapons if you like. Ports here, ports here. So I like that a lot. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty cool little shuttle mode. What you can do, you can bring this thing back in. And let's see, there are a couple possibilities we can do. They want you to open this up. And I guess I'll take all the weapons out of it. So let me just unpeg everything real quick. So the first thing that the directions tell you to do with this is lay everything flat, with the exception of this, leave this up. Then you can see that these bend, And I kind of wish they like bent down and connected somehow, because this piece doesn't really lay flat because of the nature of it. So that's always kind of weird to me. I wish it did. But anyway, so they have you lay this all out, and then they tell you to just lay this on top of it. I don't know what this is supposed to do. Maybe it's like a in-space dock or something. I'm not really sure. I don't really know what this is supposed. I don't see anywhere where it's supposed to connect. Like, I'm looking if it's supposed to peg in somewhere. I don't see it. It just tells you to lay that on there, which doesn't really do anything for me, but okay. Next thing it tells you to do, peg that down, rotate this like a quarter turn, and then it wants you to peg this in as like a launch site, like a launch pad, okay? Which, okay, that works a little better. Let me see if I can keep most of the shuttle in frame. So, okay, here's this, which isn't doing much, but maybe you could kind of angle these a little bit, and maybe you could take some of these guns and peg them around and try to make like a MicroMaster base out of it or something. Just an idea. Maybe peg that in there. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here, but I mean, that's okay. It's not great, but maybe you could make that into some kind of MicroMaster base or something. Like, I thought this guy was going to have some kind of base element to him. Like, the coal car is neat in the fact that it stores the weapons and it can connect as armor, which is all right. And it's going to come into play more in the locomotive mode, which we'll see in a minute. But at least with this launch pad, like, I can see what they're going for. And I think if you position some guns on it, you can kind of pretend like it's a MicroMaster base. It's not terrible, but it's, I don't know, some of the modes they have for it, like the just lay the shuttle on top of it mode that we saw before this, is really weird and bizarre to me. Alright, so next up we're going to go from the shuttle into the locomotive. We're going to unpeg this from the back so that we can open this up and let the fin release. That's going to flip down to there. These tabs are going to flip back up, and it's a little easier said than done, I'll be honest. Actually, you don't need this to come off. Although sometimes it does. But you just pop it right back up. So, I guess you could just lift this whole section up and then flip this around, which is easier. Then we're going to fold this down like that. And then these are going to peg back onto the side like they were in robot mode. So that's easy enough. Then you can close this back up. That goes right back on there. You're going to fold these down like so. And then you're going to fold these wing tips down like so. There we go. There's actually little tabs. You can see right here where my finger is, and that goes into that little tab spot on the wing right there. So that way it's nice and snug fit. And then this, we're going to unpeg these and drop these back down. And then we're also going to split apart the legs completely. This whole section here that was the front of the cockpit of the shuttle is going to spin around 180 like that. This piece inside here is going to flip out and become the little smokestack of the train. So you'll see how that flips out. And then the bottom part right here, where this little like peg is actually going to drop straight down. And some of these things are a little difficult, but you can get them. You got to get this to pop. You can see that there is a metal piece right here that drops down. So sometimes it's just kind of hard to realize where you're supposed to grab. There you go. So that popped down a little bit. So we're going to repeat that entire thing with the other leg. We're going to spin this around. We're going to pop out this piece, and then we're going to pull this down. And I don't know why I always have such trouble pulling this part down, but I always do. There we go. Now we're going to bring this all back together. This is going to peg all together, and then this is going to peg back where it was. So close that all up. And then this piece is just going to, actually I guess first we should do rotate these around 180 degrees. If you untab that and then flop that there, and then this has two peg spots which will go into these two pegs like this, and then do the same on the other side. And then boom, there is your locomotive train mode. I like this a lot. Again, I feel like it's very reminiscent of the original G1 toy. It's a little weird that the front of the train is smaller, but I get it. They kind of had to do that just to make it work. It actually rolls really nicely, and I like the uniform purple. I think that works really well. You can bring the coal car back in. You have to rotate this back down. But then you can plug this in, and there you go. There's the extra car on the back, and that also rolls very nicely. You can take that off if you wish. But yeah, I really like this. I think this is really cool. And it rolls really, really well. I mean, it's got a ton of wheels. You can see it's got like 10 wheels per side. Actually, it's got 12 wheels all told. Probably 6 per side, so yeah, 12. You can see the robot head underneath, but that's really not a big deal. But yeah, I really like this. I like it a lot. Really nice Decepticon symbol on the side there as well. I really like Astrotrain a lot. I definitely think it's a little weird that Hasbro's giving us Voyager figures in leader class figures and throwing in a little bit of extra armor bits and saying, oh, it's a leader class figure now. I don't love that trend, but that doesn't stop the fact that Astrotrain is a great figure. Great color scheme, great paint applications, great articulation. The shuttle mode, the train mode, both great in my opinion. Transformation is fun and intuitive, really not super difficult, which I appreciate. I don't know how I feel about this thing. As armor storage, or I should say as weapon storage, I think it's great. As the launch pad, I think it's decent. That weird like sled mode for the shuttle I don't really get, and having it connect to him as armor I don't really think works all that well. So it's about 50-50 in the various modes they have for it. But I think it works cool as a coal car to connect to the locomotive. I think it works kind of as a launch pad. When you put some guns on it, you can kind of make it look like a little Micromaster base. And I like that it stores all the weapons so you don't lose them. So for those modes alone, I think it's kind of cool. But even if you didn't have this and just this guy came in a Voyager box with one gun, he's a great figure. So I definitely recommend picking up Astrotrain because all three modes are great. Articulation, color scheme, just everything about him I think is worth picking up. Definitely the best Astrotrain figure we've seen so far, bar none. So that's going to do it for this one. Please like, share, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.